Uh, what about other cryptocurrencies? Are you a Bitcoin maximalist, or do you think that other cryptocurrencies have a place? And if so, are there any that pique your interest?
My view on this is that the entire crypto theory is the theory of a decentralized network where you sacrifice speed and you sacrifice performance and efficiency in order to achieve the characteristic of decentralization and robustness. Another way to say that is, if I wanted to create a network that would allow for sovereign immortality, I would put it on a crypto network. So then the question becomes, is there space for more than one network offering sovereign immortality? Well, I mean, each crypto is like a religion. So what is Bitcoin? Bitcoin is a crypto asset network optimized to provide for sovereign immortality of first layer money, a store of value money, digital gold. Okay. Are there other forms of sovereign immortality that you might wish to release into the ecosystem as its own religion to live? By the way, you've got to be thinking, I want it to last 1,000 years. I mean, that's the reason you do it. If you want it to last 10 years, you just create a company. If you want to, if you wanted to do something, that you could do centrally, but not in the US, you just put in an offshore exchange, or you go and you set up in Malta or whatever. The reason you're creating a crypto is because you want something that will last for hundreds of years. So I think there are other things: privacy, provenance, maybe some form of license. However, and by the way, smart contracts, especially DeFi, to the extent that you want to pursue any of these functionalities or use cases with sovereign immortality in mind, and to the extent that Bitcoin doesn't support them, right? Either, if it doesn't support them in its base layer or through some kind of side chain, then it would make sense to pursue another crypto. But I would say there's a lot of people in the crypto industry that pursue functionality on top of Bitcoin via crypto network, when in fact they'd be more successful if they simply create a centralized application on top of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, look, you can provide speedy payments via Square Cash App.
Yeah.
That's a compliant, centralized layer 2 application on Bitcoin. Or you can pursue it via some kind of Lightning-based wallet. It's also a layer 2, and you could try to pursue it via a decentralized, double-blind, layered solution, such that it just floats in cyberspace outside of the control of any company, CEO, or government, right? And that has a potential life, but it's not going to defeat Apple Pay or Square.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to figure out what niche or what addressable market you're pursuing. And then you got to actually do it the right way. You have to do it with a truly decentralized crypto asset network. It's very hard. You're right. I think that it's quite certain that Bitcoin is a successful decentralized network for store of value. I think that the entire rest of the crypto industry I would classify as venture capital. They're all pretty much ventures or advent. And if you have an adventurous mindset and if you have venture capital and you wish to pursue those, then it's justifiable. But you need to come back to this observation, which is, like, it's not clear to me that you need a completely decentralized network in order to enforce digital property rights like an NFT.
Right.
You might be able to do that on a centralized network. I understand why Bitcoin needs to be decentralized, because I get it, but it's not clear to me that you couldn't monetize artwork, using Google or Amazon as the centralized exchange. So you're going to have to come up with things that require cross-jurisdictional sovereign immortality to convince me that the underlying crypto framework is the ideal way to do it. Otherwise, you're really just a Bitcoin entrepreneur, or you're a crypto entrepreneur and you're working on some new thing, with some new technology, which may or may not work.
Yeah. I mean, I think really, something you said that really piqued my interest in another interview I watched that you had done was where you talked about the derivatives market and how Bitcoin plays into that. For me personally, I think that Ethereum or maybe Cardano or Polkadot, probably Ethereum, I mean, it's got the first mover advantage. It seems to be a better channel through DeFi to move the derivatives market so that not just the elite can trade derivatives, but everybody could get access to that, estimated quadrillion dollar market. Now, where do you see Bitcoin versus another decentralized network in terms of bringing the derivatives market? Because I mean, you mentioned $100 trillion market cap for Bitcoin through derivatives, I believe, on one video. What is your viewpoint on that?
I think that there's a lot of regulatory, uncertainty, if not regulatory peril, of trying to get into derivatives trading on crypto asset networks because it's a regulated area, and so you can trade derivatives on the CME.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can trade derivatives on centralized exchanges. You can trade all sorts of exchanges, right? And they're all subject to regulators. So, do you need DeFi in order to trade derivatives? No, you don't. I mean, there's ways to trade derivatives right now. I think that, Bitcoin is property and it's legal to own property.
Yeah.
In the US and in Europe. And so there's certain clarity to owning something like that. It's been normalized as property by the IRS and by the SEC and by the OCC. Yeah. I think that as you get into all these other areas, stable coins, DeFi, privacy, they're all aspirational goals. They just have a lot more uncertainty with regard to technology, regulation, and how they'll be interpreted across jurisdictions. And that's what creates the risk. So, you pursue all those things at your own peril.
You're on a whole nother wavelength with where you think this is going. You truly do believe Bitcoin is Godzilla and that countries are going to adopt it. And that's really refreshing to hear the number 2 biggest owner of Bitcoin in terms of corporations, CEO say.
Well, Ben, here's what I think. I think it's the first $1 trillion brand in the history of the world, at least one created by man. If you discount the US dollar, some people say the dollar is the greatest brand, but after the dollar, Bitcoin is $1 trillion monetary network. It grew from 0 to $1 trillion in 12 years. That's faster than Google, which took 22 years to get to $1 trillion in market cap.
Wow,
or
that's
Amazon
a good way to put it in perspective.
So it's $1 trillion network. It's a proof of work network. If you look at other crypto asset networks that purport to be a store of value, the next best one is 100 times smaller. Ethereum's not even committed to being a proof of work network. They're converting it into a proof of stake network. Yeah. So if you're looking at a proof of work network, you got to go all the way to like Bitcoin Cash. And what you have is you have one network, which is 100 times bigger than the next best one. It's 97% dominant, as a proof of work crypto asset network. So that being the case, it seems quite clear that it's won that battle. It is the bank in cyberspace if you want to deposit your money, and it is the overarching brand. There's no reason why we wouldn't expect it to continue to be the brand of long-term store of value money or base layer money for hundreds of years.
I love it. I mean, I think the one takeaway that everybody should have from this is when we colonize Mars and we're trading with aliens, we're going to be trading Bitcoin, I think. Hopefully the aliens take Bitcoin. But last question I want to ask you, Michael, is I'm going to give you a year, and I want to know over under if you think Bitcoin will be $1 million by this year. $1 million Bitcoin 2025, over or under?
I think it's kind of not a good idea to make forecasts like that.
Yeah. Okay. You can't say where you think it's going to. Okay. I can dig it. Michael,
I tell you, over the long term, I expect it to flip gold, and that takes it to 500,000. And I expect it to march progressively toward $100 trillion market cap, which is the value of all of the treasury assets, or at least a decent a decent order of magnitude of the treasury assets in the world, and Bitcoin is the ideal treasury asset network. So it should march toward that with